Hey, welcome back, Knicks fans. Thank you guys for returning. Please give me a thumbs up if you can. Subscribe if you can. I really appreciate you guys watching once again. These Knicks, they did it again. Tonight was a great game. And tonight they played hard, y'all. They played really hard. Like, all I have to say is 3 minutes to go. The Knicks defense stayed stout. I mean, they had this look on their face. They were not going away. The Indiana Pacers saw that look on their face and just basically saw the way the Knicks, they just kept coming on the defensive end. Man, they took the Pacers' heart. The Pacers got their heart taken 3 minutes to go. That's really what happened in this game. And it's kind of crazy to think it, to say it, that this is the same Knicks team from last year, because obviously this would never happen last year. And this is all because of the coaching. This is all because of Tom Thibodeau. And when you have a young squad like this, and this is what I've always been saying, a lot of times when you have a young squad like this, these kids have been playing basketball since they were freaking 8 years old. They put in hours every day. Saturday, sometimes these kids, they play every day, including Saturdays and Sundays. And you're telling me all of a sudden they come into the league, they don't care anymore? That's not true. A lot of times it's the organization that screwed these kids up. And so the fact that they have Tom Thibodeau have a bunch of young guys on the squad, it's much easier to get young kids to buy in. It's very easy. And so we're seeing a lot of changes. We're seeing really quick changes from this team. They're improving much more um, this year than they did last year. And big shout out to Julius Randle. Obviously, the last 3 minutes, they were trying to go to Sabonis to bail them out to kind of help close the game out. And Julius Randle, he wasn't having it. Last game, the Pacers killed us in the paint. They really killed us in the paint. There was a ton of, they had, I don't remember how many points in the paint they had, but they had a ton of points in the paint. They killed us. And this time around, Tom Thibodeau had a great game plan. And also, you got to give it to Julius Randle, too. He basically took the matchup against Sabonis very personal. And in 3 minutes to go, there was one play when they gave Sabonis the ball, isolation on the wing, and Sabonis trying to take Julius. It was one on one, and Julius Randle just basically shut him down. Basically shut him down, and then they try to get the ball to Sabonis again on this clip that I have here. And as you guys see, he took it away from Sabonis and went in for the dunk. Man, Julius Randle is playing like a totally different man. He's a man possessed, and I tell you what. Um, it's really been awesome to watch. It's really been great to watch him play. And so there's a few things I wanted to go through. I really think that uh, the first game that they played, I honestly, obviously Tom Thibodeau, his teams are always very well prepared, but I think they weren't as prepared as they would have liked to be, right? Obviously because they lost the game. And if you that game, we played hard, and it was just kind of like towards the end, that like in the fourth quarter, it was just like the fact that we weren't hitting shots and we just didn't have enough, and we just kind of, it's almost like they started to pull away. So that's what happened in this first game. But and then also obviously, like I said before, we got destroyed in the paint during the first game. But I think Thibodeau really uh, made sure he prepared the team a lot differently. Um, Mitch played a great game. He was great. He's like a great defender. I mean, he makes all the difference when he's in there. These guys, is very difficult for them to score in the paint, and Mitch essentially was one of the biggest reason why we were able to shut these guys out in the paint. Him and Randall. Randall took on Sabonis by himself and shut him down, and Mitch just shut everyone else down from coming into the paint. So it's a great game by Mitch as well. RJ Barrett, this kid is an enigma to me. He is a huge enigma. I cannot understand, how he goes. Like, it's not the fact that he has bad shooting nights, but it's the fact that the way like he throws up air balls. Even like he's missing like bunnies, baby jump shots. He's missing open layups, and then he comes in today and it's just like he's like hitting everything, and he's playing under control. He looked like he was the best offensive player on the court, quite honestly. And so he's been quite an enigma, and it's really interesting to kind of to watch his maturation. Hey, we got to also remember he's only 20 years old. But I am a little concerned about his confidence. Um, because you want a confident player. You want a player who's confident all the time. You don't want a player who's like confident sometimes. And so when he's not confident, he's like missing layups and doing all sorts of crazy stuff. But I want to stay positive on this one. He had a great game, and it was a great bounce back game. It wasn't one of those bull crap bounce back games where they're trying to say, "Oh, he played great. He had a bounce back game, but he shot like 39 or 40%." No, this was a real bounce back game. He played great. He shot 8 of 15 from the field. He shot above 50%. And so it was truly a great game. He went in 4 or 5 from the 3 point line, finished with 25 points. And so he was really good today. The other thing was Austin Rivers. The guy has a lot of moxie, plays with a lot of moxie, and he showed out today. And I'm really glad that they picked him up. It is, in my opinion, obviously he is like an off-ball guard, and I think he's still trying to get. The crazy part is, I think he's still trying to kind of get used to the team because I know when they had him and Quickly in there, they played pretty well, but if you notice the offense, they were trying to run their offense, but it wasn't. They weren't really able to get into their offense the way they wanted to, and so a lot of times, quickly and also Austin ended up having to do some improvisation and like kind of make something happen on their own. So believe it or not, I think they still have a long way to go, and I think he's actually going to get better. As crazy as that sounds, at least in terms of like helping the offense run a little much better when both of them are on the court. And so so that was also really good. The biggest thing also with this team, their defense have been improving. I did say they played great defense today. It's been improving, guys. It's like it's been getting better game after game. I mean, they shut down the Pacers. The Pacers is like the number one offense in the league. These guys are a very well-oiled machine, and they know how they want to play. And honestly, the Pacers, they're not extremely talented, and so I think that's why when the Knicks actually kept playing, coming with their defense, and kept coming as hard as they came, they just ended up just taking the Pacers hard. But the Pacers is a very well-oiled machine, and so this team is playing great defense, and they're improving even as time goes along. Then on the offensive end, they stayed extremely disciplined still on offense, the way they played on offense. If you look, they only took about 27 three-pointers. The Knicks took 27 three-pointers and made 12 of them. And so they shot below 50%, but I think it was more, that was more like, I think it looks like they shot maybe like, it was over 40%, maybe 44% it looks like they shot. So it was really good. The Knicks did really good. They're very disciplined on offense. The Pacers, I think they took well over 53, like maybe around 53 pointers, something like that. And so that's the difference between the Knicks and these other teams. They're just way more disciplined on offense. They're playing very disciplined. They're looking for their shots. They run their plays, look for the open man. And when they find the open man, especially if it's like the man is open where he's supposed to be, where he knows he can make his shots from, they normally take it. And so they know what the good shots are. And they're always looking for that good shot. So they're extremely disciplined, which is really good. Kevin Knox didn't really have it tonight. If you saw, they kind of, they took him out because honestly, I mean, his defense has been really good. But because we have options, all these guys are buying in and playing defense. We're at the point now where because everyone is actually playing defense, that if your offense falls off a little bit, the coach is actually if you're not there with the offense, the coach is actually going to go like in a different direction. And so that's why Austin Rivers definitely got a lot more minutes tonight. And also, we did see a lot more Bullock. Bullock is a better defender than Kevin Knox is anyway. He plays great defense, but Bullock was way off. But as we saw towards the end of the game, the coach ended up going with Austin Rivers over Bullock. And so, because everyone is playing defense, it's like now the coach can basically make choices, can make decisions towards the end of the game, and decisions that help the team win. And so that was also really good. Um, Noel played a pretty decent game. And we already talked about Rivers quickly. Basically, he came back today, played a great game. He's extremely crafty. I mean, he was getting into the paint, basically causing fouls, getting foul calls and things like that. He made one or two from the 3 point line. There's the second one. There was the one he missed that was like all the way down, but then came back up. I definitely think we have a great one here with this kid. Obviously, I'm talking about quickly first instead of talking about Peyton, who's actually the starter. Peyton was great. He was really awesome. He really attacked the paint, and obviously he knows his limitations, but he knows what his strengths are. And I'm glad he's recognizing what his strengths are. He knows how to get in the paint at will. And so he basically got in that paint and he basically caused a lot of havoc. And he did his thing and he played great. He went 8 of 17 for 19 points. He was extremely aggressive. And so the team played great, especially when he was out there. And so I just want to look at the box scores. This is the full box score here. We're going to go from left to right. The Knicks took about 83 field goal attempts, so they went 42 of 83. So they essentially shot over 50%. They shot around, so maybe 51, 52% they shot. They went 12 of 27 from 3 point land, and so that was around 44%, it looks like. And they went 10 of 13. They didn't get to the free throw line a lot. And this is basically the thing that was really interesting was the rebounds. The Knicks got 51 rebounds. I think basically the Pacers got something like 30. I have to look at their box scores once we get to the next page. But they out rebounded them this time around. They really dominated the paint. Mitch really showed up today, and so did Randall. And they just shut all that crap down in the paint. I mean, like it's honestly the first time around, I was like, oh man, are we stout enough down in the paint? After tonight, I was like, you know what? I think we're good. With Mitch and with Julius Randle, I really think we're good. And of course, Nerlens Noel also came in, played much better. He's been playing better the last two games, even though we lost the last game. He did play better the last game. He's been playing better, so he's been coming along really well. We had 23 assists, and as like I said before, the Knicks, it's is a it's not great, but it was pretty. 23 is okay, um, and so but they were pretty efficient. They moved the ball around a lot and was able to find the open shot. And there was sometimes the guys just kind of winning. They went right. Like obviously the guys that were able to make shots, make their own plays and get their own shots. If we really needed it, they were able to do it. Julius Randle did it. Alfred Payton, especially Alfred Payton, did it. Of course, R.J. Barrett, he definitely did it. And so, like they played really well. So that's why the assists weren't as high as it normally is. But it's fine. And so, I'm not really going to get into the steals that much, the blocks really, because those, in my opinion, those are um, they're not necessarily the biggest fact, the main factors that that helps you win the ball game. But so I'm not really going to go into those very much. Nick scored 106 points, so that was really good. And so we're going to go into the Pacers box score to take a look at what they did. Um, so with the Pacers, they played a great game. They played very disciplined. We're going to go from left to right. The Pacers took more shots than we did 84, but they're very disciplined as well. So it wasn't like they weren't like in the 90s. They kind of ran their plays a little bit. They took a lot of threes. As you see here, they went 19 of 50 from three, and so that was 38%. But that's quite a lot of threes. That's not bad, and for a team like the Pacers, they know how to use the 3 point shot pretty well, and they're pretty smart about it. So they have guys that shoot the 3 point shot fairly well and fairly consistent. And the interesting thing is like they don't have a lot of guys that can basically go off the dribble, go on the paint and finish, right? And so if you don't have those guys that can go off the dribble and finish in the paint, you have to run plays. And you have to, whether if it's like if they hit three mid-range jump shot or if it's threes. In this case, their specialty is shooting threes. So that's what they went with. They went with like the 3 point shot. And honestly, given the defense that they played and how disciplined they were on offense, it wasn't a terrible idea. It was just unfortunate for them. They ran into a Thibodeau coach team in the New York Knicks. And look, it's not all Tib. I mean, look, Thibodeau's the reason why these guys are playing better, much better on defense. It really is, right? However, I've always said this especially the last year, they have the guys to play defense. If you want to play good lockdown defense, they have the guys to play. It's whether or not they have the coaches to teach them how to play the defense and to basically get the right sets into place so they can basically know how to play defense and learn their rotations and all that stuff. That's I've always maintained that with this team, especially since last year when they drafted Barrett, and when I noticed Barrett was actually a pretty decent defender. It just kind of I really realized that like, hey, look, it's like it's this is all on coaching at this point. But going back to the Pacers, they're pretty smart how to use the 3 point shot. So it wasn't a terrible idea for the way they went. They went because they did shoot 38% from three and hit 19 of them. They actually scored way more points off threes than the Knicks did, but the Knicks just destroyed them from the paint. That was the thing. That was the big problem with that. They got about 32 rebounds to the Knicks. The Knicks like 50, 51, and 22 assists. It's a little low for them. That's a huge credit to the Knicks. I think normally with a team like this, you want the assists to be a little higher because they don't have a lot of guys that can basically go one on one and get their own shots in the paint. Like if we go back to the field goal, if you notice, they shot only 40% from the field, 41% essentially. The Knicks shot 50%. So it's like once you're able to do that, that's what the Knicks are going to have to do. Um, you can kind of have not a great shooting game. You just got to make sure the other team shoots worse than you do, right? And so it sounds very oversimplified, but at least that's the starting point, and that's how you start from there, and then you start to hone in on like, okay, how can I maximize our offense, and our efficiency on offense, and how can we basically play better defense and make life really difficult for the other team. And so the Pacers ended up with 102 points. They really tried. Um, they're a great, very well coached team, and they kept coming. But the Knicks, when they saw the Knicks and they saw all that length that the Knicks had, and these guys weren't giving up, the Knicks basically they just the Knicks took their heart because you could just tell there was just like something where they just realized, damn, these guys are just not going away. And so before the season began, I did that's essentially the game, everything about the game. But I did want to make a few more comments about not just about the game, but also about the season. Before the season began, I did say I think the Knicks were going to win about 30 games. They were going to get at least 30 games. That's what I said before the season began, as long as they play defense. And I updated that a few days ago, and I talked about how a lot of people are basically they clown the Knicks and they're like, oh, these guys they suck, they this, they that, and they give these silly predictions where like the Knicks are going to win 24 games, right? Or they're going to win 25 games, 3 games better than Vegas, and 3 games better than Vegas or ESPN, whatever, whoever the hell gave out those numbers. But then it's like it just doesn't make any sense. Like, what is your reason for giving out those kind of those numbers, right? And a lot of these guys, they just don't, they don't have a reason. All they say is like, oh, the Knicks suck because they sucked last year, but they don't really have a real reason for the projections that they're giving out. And so, but this is a very much different team. Um, if you just um, if you just look at the way they were playing defense in the preseason, you could tell that if they continue to improve on defense, they're going to win close to at least like close to 500% of their games. They're going to win 50. I'm sorry, 50% of their games. They're going to win 50% of their games. And I mean, you just have to look at the teams that have done this in the past. There's been a lot of teams that just sucked on offense and they only had defense, and it was like they're winning like half their games and they're scraping by into the playoffs. Like the Miami Heat is one. I always go back to them. But they scrape into the playoffs. Yeah, they lose in the first round and stuff like that. But you can win ball games by playing defense. In this league, you can definitely do that. But a lot of people, they're just, they're not seeing it. Maybe they're going to see it now, especially how they're beating very good teams. It's not like they're scraping the bottom of the NBA barrel. So these are pretty solid teams that they're beating, which is really good. And so, and so the last thing I really want to say is, it's Having a young team actually is, I really think having a young team is beneficial to a coach like Thibodeau, especially a coach like Thibodeau that drives the team extremely hard. Older players may start to whine because they're set in their ways, especially if they've had like, 6, 7 years in the league, 5, 6, 7 years in the league of just playing lazy basketball and just kind of like half-assing it and just, playing a little bit here and there. They probably wouldn't want to buy in, right? And honestly, they wouldn't even come to a typical coach team. So that's a great thing. The Knicks don't have to worry about that. But when you have a bunch of young kids, 18, 19, 20, 21, like most of these guys are like, most of our teams, most of our team is like under 24 years old. Actually, 25. Let's say 25. 25 and under. Most of them are 25 and under. When you have a team like that, it's like they're young, they're still impressionable, and they still care. And so you can tell them something as long as you come correct and you know what you're talking about. They're going to listen to you. Like I said before, these guys have been playing basketball since they were kids, and they've been playing every day, hours, like hours every day. It's like there's very few things you can do. There's like anything you do in life where you're putting hours a day, right? I mean, it's just like you just become very good at it, obviously, right? You become a master, you become an expert at it. And, but also you're very disciplined and you also care about it. And so once these guys get into the NBA, it's just, they really do care, I think. And I think you just need the right coach and the right team in place to kind of get them across the hump, because not everyone is going to be able to figure it out. Not everyone is a Luka Doncic or, who just knows how to play right off the back and knows exactly what to do, or like LeBron James. You're not going to get those. You only get those like, those are generational players, right? And so, but everyone else, they can still be very good players. You can still make very good all stars, have very good all stars that come into the league that don't know how to play basketball. You just have to teach them how to play basketball, right? That's just what you have to do. And so, the Knicks got a great win tonight. They're improving, and hopefully they keep it pushing. And and if you like the video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe. Hopefully, I'll talk to you guys again soon. And Happy New Year.